knows that diet and exercise is going to cause you to lose weight. And this queen can lose somewhere between about 20 and 40% of her body weight before they actually go on swarming. And that way she can fly to the new spot. And of course, when the queen cells are ripe and a maybe home is selected, as I said, they never select the home permanently before they leave the hive. A maybe home is selected, the weather is right, and that makes a big difference. Whether they swarm this day or the next day, they're not going to swarm on a cloudy, rainy day. They always swarm on a nice, sunshine, bright day. Typically, it's around 11 to 1 or 2-ish. At least that's what I've always seen. And the scout bees will sound the alarm, and of course the bees are going to swarm. And as I said, the sky is just beautiful. I have looked and looked at this program trying to find where the queen is.
Oh.
Anybody see her?
Right there.
I think that's her right there.
Right there.
But what happens when this swarm occurs? You're going to lose 30 to 70% of your worker bees. And if you're losing 70% of your bees, and we're in the middle of the nectar flow, you're never going to get this hive back ready to go until the nectar flow is over with. So swarming is not good for a beekeeper if you want to grow bees and you want to have a honey harvest. So that's why we have to control this. And as I said, a lot of it is genetics. I'm going to let you read this to yourself. I don't like to read my slides where I get a little sip of water here. Am I saying staying in the right spot?
Pretty much.
Okay. Basically what we're saying here is there are a lot of things that these scout bees are looking at as far as what they're going to. Safety, the space that's available there, the foraging availability, not so close to other hives. There are a lot of things they look at. And of course, in this preparation, before they swarm, they're going out and they're coming back and they're doing dances within the hive to tell other scout bees, I found something over there that looks pretty doggone good. And they'll go out and look at that. And they might go out, even if they've gone out once and come back and dance for it, they might go out another couple of times to that same location and try to sell it or switch over to somebody else. But this is basically what they do. And then eventually, once they pretty much think, well, we got a good place, the weather's right, the swarm cells are right, then the bees, they will swarm. And they go to a temporary location like this. Now, if it's a good sized swarm, you can have as many as 300 to 500 scouts, and they're operating on the outside of this swarm. The queen is somewhere, usually inside. I've seen her a lot of times on top too, that she moves around a bunch. But anyway, with these 300 to 500 scouts, basically what they're looking for is something is about the size of a 20 liter minimum, between a 5-frame and a 10-frame box. A good source and that's of course a safe location. Now I have caught swarms that I needed a double brood box to house them. It just depends on the volume of bees you got. But more times than not, the swarm is going to fit in something very close to a 10-frame box. And as I said, of course, as the bees go for their future home, and they're sitting outside on this swarm, they will go out and they'll spend as much as an hour maybe or more evaluating a new cavity. She'll walk all around that cavity, measuring the size. She'll look at the food sources in the area. How safe is it? Is it up high enough? All of these things are considered. And if she likes it well enough, she goes back and, as I said, does a dance on the outside of the swarm, and the other bees watch her. And then the other scout bees will go out and take a look at that. She may go back another time or two, as I said. But eventually, they will have to come to a conclusion. Depending on how long they sit there, and I've seen them leave as quick as an hour. I've seen them sit there for 7 or 8 days before they go to a new spot. I guess a lot of it depends on did they find the cavity, even though they've pre-searched a little bit, and then maybe the swarm was bigger than they anticipated. They really don't call out names and say, let's go. It's just, when they say go, it can really vary on the number of bees that will leave that hive and go with the swarm and the queen. But regardless of what it is, they never move to a new location with anything less than a 100% with all the scout bees that this is where we're going. If there's still 1 or 2 or 3 scout bees that says, no, we don't like that spot, we like this one over here, they will not move. It's very democratic. 100% or those bees do not move. So once 100% of the scout bees that are sitting there working decide that is the place we need to go, then they up and go and they move to the new location. And of course, in this particular area, swarm season typically is going to be in this particular area. Our bees begin to grow in population usually December 21st or 22nd. That's the winter solstice. As soon as it's a long day, short day, and the days are getting longer, the bees notice this, they start building up their population. So this happens pretty quick. And of course, the nectar flow we get around here can start as early as the first part of February. And this year it started very early. We have a lot of pollen going on. And this actually stimulates the bees even more when this nectar flow starts. Our swarm season around here can be as early as middle of February and as late as maybe into July. This depends. Anymore, I think for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years, to me, the nectar flow seems to be over with about the 1st to the middle of June. And that's going to discourage the bees in swarming. Now, peak swarm season for me is usually April and May. Anytime before that, in my opinion, this is too aggressive swarm genetics. Your bees are swarming before they need to be. Normally in this area, as long as you have adequate space in there, the bees should never be ready to swarm in March. I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago, one of our off properties, Ann and I went over there to look at, and it was a double brood box. I had 5 frames of bees at the top, and there were 12 queen cells there. Very little food in there, so I actually had to feed them. So I got rid of those queen cells. We came back the week after that. There were 6 frames of bees, another 12 queen cells. This happened the same thing again the next week. That is not normal for swarming. That is poor swarm genetics. And as I talk about a little later on, the more we chase these early swarms, the more we're spreading these bad swarm genetics within our communities and making, yes, sir.
So would you requeen that to try to stop?
I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. you're a slide or two ahead of me.
So you had said this one time, what won't you go do is go get a swarm.
We don't chase swarms anymore. And I'll talk about that a little bit. We quit chasing swarms, I don't know, 7 to 10 years ago, we quit doing that. You've got to really, I take that back. Last year I went and got 1 swarm. The North High School called over and said, we can't get anybody to come out. Yeah, they have a swarm, and I brought it back. But I will requeen her. I don't chase swarms anymore. I don't bring swarm genetics into my yard. If I do, I will replace her. We don't have swarms anymore in our yard, guys, in all of our different yards. Last year, I say we don't. Last year we had 1 of all of our hives. But swarm genetics, although it's natural, there's too much premature swarming going on out there, and we're just spreading bad genetics. But if I catch a hive normally in April and May, depending on the situation, that maybe you were not good enough in managing your hives and keeping the space there, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, might be a good swarm. It might be normal swarm genetics. But I just don't bring them into my yard anymore because I don't want to get that in there. I've got it out of my yard, and I don't want it back. But anyway, this is what we normally see as far as the time the swarms are hitting. When you're catching a swarm, you pretty much are going to need this type of equipment. Of course, you need these type of boxes. If it's a smaller swarm, these are fantastic because they're very light, and you can put that right up to where the swarm is a lot of times. If you have to work with a box, then yes, that gets a little more heavy. Some people will put their swarms in a plastic garbage bag, some in a corrugated box. I don't like to do that. When I chase swarms, let me put it that way, I always like to carry the equipment out with me. I wanted to get the bees on the comb as quick as possible. Normally what I would do while I was there, I would find the queen, I'd put her in the cage, I put her somewhere in that box, and then a lot of the surrounding bees are going to go in there with her. Until she gets in that box, they're not going to go in. Yes, you're going to leave some of those 300 to 500 scout bees behind because they're out trying to find a place to go. If you hang around for about an hour with the queen in there, you'll pick up some of them, but you're going to still leave some bees behind. And you're gonna probably have that person calls, hey, their bees are back. No, the bees are back, the scout bees are back, and they're gonna go to the same place where they were. But that's only the scout bees. But this is the best way to do it. As I said earlier, sometimes I've had swarms as big as I needed 2 brood boxes to put them in. Normally, as soon as I get the bees back home, you're gonna wanna feed them immediately, because the only thing they have as far as food sources is what's in their honey crop. And that's what they filled up before they left the hive on their swarm. As I said, a lot of people will put them in there. I like to do that as soon as I get my bees back home. And there's no guarantee once you take these back to your yard, they're gonna stay there. I brought them to back to my yard and said, oh, everything's great, and the queen really looked good, so I'm looking forward to this hive. The next day they're gone. There's no guarantee they're gonna stay there. What I like to do, what I always did, some people will use this type of a cage and push that into the comb on the frame and put the queen in there. I like to keep my queen active. I don't want to keep her in this box. I want her to start laying as quick as possible. As soon as I can get larvae in the comb and the food in the comb, the better chance these are going to stay there. What I did personally, you can do what you want to do, and of course you want to use an introducer. But when I brought my swarms back home, I shut them down completely with an introducer. Queen's in here, I let her go, food's on top, I shut the box down that day. Whatever it's in the morning, in the afternoon, the box got shut down. It stayed shut down, closed down, no bees in, no bees out. All that night, all the next day, and then when it was dark the next day, I'd go and open up this opener, let them fly the next morning when the sun came up. At that point, I've got a couple of days, the queen's laid eggs in there. They